What's going on, guys? LSU Recruiting HQ back the day after LSU drops the season opener to UCLA 38 to 27. And guys, we're just going to jump right into it, man. This was a poor showing from LSU, no doubt about it. Everybody in the LSU fan base is disappointed this morning. Um, they got a lot of things to fix, man. Just 470 yards of offense again. Uh, it was like a mirror spitting image of 2020, man, and that was probably the most disappointing thing all off season. All we hear about is how improved the defense is, and the offensive line is improving, and running backs will be better. And it was the same story, man. You could have just put on the game tape from any game last year, and it could have been played similar to this one. Now, deep down, I don't personally know how good UCLA is still to this day. After beating LSU, how talented are they? Don't get me wrong, they have great running backs, great offensive line, a very good defense was really the most surprising thing. I thought their defense played great. Um, but then again, you look and is this a mid-level Pac-12 team that LSU just lost to? And if it is, what does that say about LSU and what kind of season they're looking to have this year? Now, I don't want to be the guy out here that's all negativity. I did want to point out some bright spots. Obviously, Kayshon Boutte, man, is a star. He's going to kill it again this year. Him and Max obviously got a great connection because anytime Max is having problems, he just goes and finds number one and he takes care of all that after that. And then I thought the most concerning part about last night to me wasn't the offensive line, right? Wasn't the linebackers, wasn't the safety play. It was the front seven, man. The front seven in general, the defensive line. This defensive line, we've heard all about it, man. And these pass rushers, this defensive tackles, being able to rotate almost 10 guys on the defensive line. And they got pushed around all night. This is unacceptable. All we hear is off season. Is this front seven is one of the best units in not just the SEC and college football. If you looked at who they returned from last year and what little positive we were able to take away from last year, it was the defensive line. And last night they got bullied all night. Yes, the offensive line is bad, but we talked about that a lot this offseason, and it was a big question mark. Yes, the linebackers are terrible. We talked about that a lot this offseason. It didn't, surprise me. The one thing that I was like, LSU's going to control the line of scrimmage, at least on the defensive ball, and we're going to be able to stop the run. And you know what? UCLA ate us up. The whole second half ate us up. And it wasn't even competitive. I'm watching guys like Neil Farrell. Neil Farrell, great person, I'm sure, and a fan favorite for LSU fans. Guy's not a great player. Guy is not a great player. Been here for 5 years. Got pushed around. Put on his butt several times. And when you have that interior defensive line getting pushed around like that, where the first point of contact is 3-4 yards down the field, you're in for a long night. Especially with the running backs, UCLA got that arm going down on the first hit. They ran hard, man. You can't fault UCLA. UCLA did everything right last night. Everything right. Thompson made the one bad throw. Other than that, it was a sub-mediocre average game for him. A lot of wide open guys still. A lot of miscommunications. These crossing routes, man, they're losing leverage at the point of attack every single time. Everybody wants to hype up these defensive ends and stuff like that. Ali Gay, if Ali Gay is not rushing the passer, he's useless. Useless. If he can't get by you on the edge, it's a wrap. His one mindset is just go get the quarterback. That's it. Anything else on defense? He's an average player. He's an above average pass rusher. Third downs, elite pass rusher. No doubt about that. I'm not gonna complain. He's a great pass rusher, but the downs 1 through 3, I mean, between the sticks, it's not rocket science. You just got to look at it. I mean, he gets stood up. It's If he can't beat you around the edge, he gets stood up every single time, and that was probably the most disappointing takeaway from last night, besides the final score. Because like I said, all off season the questions have been offensive line, linebacker, safeties. Have they got better? They obviously haven't. And now you got to look at yourself in the mirror if you're Coach O, and you got to find a way to fix it. Because now it's getting to the point where if you don't fix it now, your job is truly in jeopardy. You know, 2 years removed from a national championship season, and I never would have thought that today, on this day, that I would be talking about Ed Ogeron might be coming to an end at LSU. Could this be the end or the beginning of the end for him? Because you can't possibly keep rolling out this product, right? You can't possibly roll out this product 2 years in a row. Same problems, all right? Got rid of the coordinators, made a good defensive coordinator hire, made a good offensive coordinator hire this year. I still believe in those guys. There's only one common denominator that's changed or that hasn't changed from last year to this year. They revamped the whole coaching staff, right? Well, I lied. There's two because they returned a lot of players. So the players are at fault just as much as the coaches at this point. But it starts at the top, man. You got to be responsible. You have to take responsibility for what you're putting on the field week in and week out, because it is not to the LSU standard the way they play football. I got NFL guys. I got everybody on Twitter bashing this coaching staff, saying these dudes don't know what they're doing. And they know the X's and O's in football better than me. So I'm going to take it that they know what they're talking about, being that they've been in the league. They played at LSU. Some of them are into coaching. They know what's going on in the game. They see the game differently than I see it. I see it as a fan. They see it as a player. All right? So when they say something that drastic, like this is all coaching, I mean, you got to sit back and look and say, hey, man, what is the real problem here? You know, I mean, I'm the biggest Coach O fan in the world, right? But I'm also a big LSU guy. I'm here for the university, all right? LSU's won 3 national championships with 3 different coaches, all right? I can cut ties with Les Miles. I can cut ties with Coach O. Plain and simple, man. Getting rid of Les Miles was the best thing LSU could have ever done at that time, all right? Who's to say if they don't get it turned around, man? They got McNeese State coming up, right? That's a win, right? Next week is big. Next week is a big week. It's hard to say that, but next week is a big week. We have to see some type of improvement. And you know, you got Durante Jones back there, and the guys, it's hard to watch because you see the defense out there. You see the talent, you know, the 4 and 5 stars by the name. Ain't nobody gives a shit about that. I can take 25 5 stars and put them on a roster. All right, it don't matter. When it comes to Saturday, it's about you and the guy you're lining up against and who wants it more. All right? And what are we saying about Coach O? Coach O has 3 straight top 5 recruiting classes. What does that matter? What does that matter at this point? How many top 5 classes UCLA got in the last 5 years? The answer is 0. All right? So talent has to be developed. All right? So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you get in recruiting. It doesn't matter what a little composite ranking system comes up with and a magical number they spit out on what a kid is valued at in high school. All right, if you can't take that 5-star kid and develop him into a college football player that can play in the SEC down after down, then those rankings don't mean anything. All right? I mean, you see teams all the time win with less talent. That's not a big deal. That just helps speed the process up. When you have great players that can learn quickly and they can develop quicker than others. But you got a team like UCLA out here with 19 seniors in the starting rotation of offense and defense. 19 seniors. 19 out of the 22 players they put on the field last night were seniors. Played together for 4 years. Been getting their ass handed to them for 4 years. Alright, you don't think this offseason they took it? And last year, after losing 4 games by a total of 15 points. That's it. 15 points is how they lost their 4 games. You're telling me that team coming into this year didn't feel like, hey, all we need is a big break. And that's it. And you know what? LSU was their big break. I hope LSU or UCLA goes on and wins the Pac-12. I'll be damned. That's going to make me feel a hell of a lot better. Alright, if I'm looking in December and UCLA is playing for the Pac-12 championship, alright, every LSU fan better, because then that's going to sit here and say, hey, man, LSU went 9-3. Let's hope they go 9. Let's hope they can go 9-3. If they happen to go 9-3, you're looking back and you say, damn, that UCLA team they played was really good. Alright, do I think they're really good? I don't think you can win a conference with that kind of quarterback play. I'm not going to lie to you. That quarterback was not great. He's a great runner. He is a below average passer, and when you only complete 9 balls and you can completely dominate the game, it didn't have much to do with you. All right, a lot of busted plays. All right, nothing that DTR. I'm not really trying to bash him, but it wasn't that impressive, And it's more of a LSU thing than it is a UCLA thing at this moment in time. Now it could change. LSU could come back next week, beat McNeese, beat Central Michigan, beat up on Mississippi State, and then we're going to go into this Auburn game thinking a whole different way, whole different mindset about LSU. We're going to be thinking like we did at the start. But the people that are, that were hyping this team up, all offseason I'm hearing 10, 11 wins, even possibly undefeated. People are coming at me undefeated season. It's like, man, this is just not realistic. You know how hard it is to make the step up from being a bad to an average football team to automatically going back to being great. All right, the descent is way easier than the climb back up. All right, it was one of those things where there's no way that. Now looking back, right, I kind of fed into the noise too. I'm not going to lie. I fed into the noise. I believed what I was hearing out of reports from camp and how good the defense was, and they were dominating the offense. Well, now I know why they were dominating the offense, because the offensive line is terrible. Offensive line is terrible. I mean, Max Johnson had no time to do anything. They were sending all kinds of exotic blitzes, and I give Jake Peets a lot of credit. He kind of had an answer, which was really impressive to me. A guy who's never called plays for. He had an answer. We started dinking and dunking down the field, started moving the ball. Max missed a couple throws. He missed a touchdown to Trey Palmer. But this dude's getting laid out every single time he drops back to throw. All right? So yes, he needs to make these throws. There's no doubt about it. Kayshon Boutte dropped the touchdown in the end zone. That's 14 points right there. Trey Palmer slant, touchdown, nothing but green grass in front of him. Bad ball, throws it in the dirt, incomplete pass. Ball in the corner of the end zone. He actually had 2 on this one series inside the 10, where Kayshon Boutte is in the corner, and it hits off of both his hands, drop pass, drop touchdown. And that's from your best guy. All right? And then you have Trey Palmer running in the back of the end zone wide open. Max throws it behind him. Defender's able to catch up, break it up, incomplete pass. LSU has to settle for a field goal. I mean, those are plays in the game where you're going to look back, and those are huge plays. You can't have coming off the first play after you score a touchdown, the first play UCLA runs, you have a bust and a tight end is running down the field 75 yards touchdown. Major Burns, last guy in the fence, misses a tackle. Same thing last night with Jordan Tolles. Jordan Tolles, I believe it was number 2, caught like a crossing route. He misses a tackle. Stingley comes up, doesn't wrap up, misses a tackle. Boom, touchdown. That's the little things. The little things like that where you look back and you're like, those are big plays in the game. LSU lost this game by 11 points, right? Defense was abysmal. They only lost by 11. I mean, if you take away that 75-yard touchdown run, or that 75-yard touchdown pass to the tight end, and then you take away maybe Derek Stingley, it just pushes that kid out of bounds and they settle for a field goal right there. I mean, that's a difference in the game being competitive, right? The game wasn't really competitive. Fourth quarter, they had a 10-point lead, and everybody in the stands, everybody at home watching on TV, kind of knew it was over. Because I was sitting there to myself, it's like, man, if LSU doesn't go out here and score every single time they have the ball in the second half, they're going to lose. Because the defense was so bad in the second half. 3 straight stops on defense to start the game. Everybody's tweeting, hey, defense is back. This is the LSU kind of defense we've been talking about. Boy, did that go to shit quick. That shit hit the fan so quick. Hey, them same guys that was tweeting, boy, I'm a you know what at the end of the night. Because, man, hey, that was a freezing cold take. Alright, that's why you gotta let things play out, because you never know. Alright, there's plenty of drives. Like the last year, in the Mississippi State game, you know what LSU did? 3 and out, sack on third down, and forced a punt, and then after that it was all downhill. Alright, so you gotta wait. You gotta let these things play out. So let's talk about the coordinators. Let's talk about each side of the ball individually. Alright, defense coordinator Deronte Jones debut, 470 yards, 260 passing, 210 rushing, rush for 4.5 yards per carry. Right? Not bad. I'm not sure if those stats are skewed by sack yards or not. I had to look that up because DTR did take a couple sacks early in the game, not too many in the end of the game. But still, 460 yards on 9 completions. That's the problem, right? If a guy's only completing 9 passes, there's no reason he should almost have 300 yards of offense, especially because they weren't throwing the ball down the field. It wasn't the fact that he was throwing all these deep balls. He was just dumping the ball off on these cross routes, busted play, boom, 70 yards. And that's how it was, 16 yards per completion. 16. I mean, you're not beating anybody giving up that kind of yardage on passes. So, I mean, and then let's talk about a little bit on the offensive side, and then we'll kind of wrap things up with what's going to happen what's got to happen in the next couple weeks, right? All right, so offense side of the ball, Max Johnson, very average game from him. All right, you know what last night really reminded me of watching is Joe Burrow on the Bengals. Like, all seriousness, love Joe Burrow to death. But last year, that's exactly what the Cincinnati Bengals did. They chose not to run the ball, though. They have a pretty good running back in Cincinnati. Last night, LSU just couldn't run the football because the offensive line is so trash, and they just had no chance of running the football. Unless Max did it himself, which that was like the most positive rushing plays was him scrambling and gaining 10 yards or something like that, picking up first down. All right, so Max has an average game. Right, 26 for 46. There's no freaking reason you should have to throw the ball 46 times against UCLA. And that was probably the most frustrating part. 380 yards of offense, not bad. But 330 of that was passing yards. And that's the difference in the two the two teams, right? The balance of UCLA being able to throw it and run it as efficiently as if they just were, as they wanted to, really. So every time they're handing the ball off, they're getting 4 or 5 yards. Every time LSU's handing the ball off, our guys are having to make 2 or 3 people miss just to gain a yard and a half, right? Big difference in the game right there. So I'm not going to put the blame on Max Johnson, but all you guys that was coming after me talking about Miles Brennan don't need to win this job, Max Johnson's an extra, bro, and that's crap, man. I'm not sitting here gonna say Miles Brennan would have done any better. Heck, he might have done freaking worse. I don't know. All right, but don't sit here and hype up Max Johnson like he's some damn all-American quarterback that, because he won 2 games last year and just happened to be the top 5 team that really didn't want to play that day. I mean, you could tell. I mean, Max Johnson's inaccuracy and decision making wasn't great. Like, I mean, but he brings that factor where when you have such a terrible offensive line, he can make plays with his feet, and that's the one thing Max Johnson brings to the table, which really probably would have been the reason he won the job, because the offensive line is so bad. Miles Brennan can't stand back there and take hits like that. All right, I mean, it's just a fact. I really don't want to blame Max Johnson, but it's just, and then another thing that surprised me was the wide receivers kind of dropping passes in the first half. LSU got out to a 7-0 lead, right? Gave the 7 right back on the big play, but then they get the ball back, and then we have 2 or 3 drops, like Keyshawn Butte in the back in the end zone. I believe Coy Moore had one. Jeray Jenkins had one. Keyshawn had another one where it hit him. Defender made a good play, kind of knocked the ball out late, but still, that's one where you would hope your best receiver can come down with. That's a big 25-yard gain on a third down. Would have been a first down, move the sticks, and who knows how that drive ends. So, with all that being said, right, 20 minutes into this video, we're going to talk about what LSU needs to do to get better. Because personally, Mom always says sleep on it. All right, I've slept on it. I'm thinking, yes, I'm still pissed off. I hope y'all are pissed off. That's how LSU football should feel. You should be disappointed that this is the product that we have to watch every Saturday. But what they can do to fix it, right? Patch up this offensive line, build a system, kind of like this dink and dunk stuff they were running last night, right? Take your shots when you can. You have to develop a running game, right? Offensive linemen feed off a good running game. If you can establish that you can run the ball, offensive line gain a little bit more confidence doing that, pushing downhill, and see how we can progress throughout the year. These next 3 games are going to be big. Mississippi State's defense ain't no joke. So, I mean, they're going to have their hands full with that defensive line in 3 weeks. So it's not a foregone conclusion that they're going to even improve. All right, they had a whole off season to improve, but you can kind of patch the holes, right? Run some stuff that'll cater, kind of quick passes, screens, stuff like that, that'll cater to a bad offensive line. You have a mobile quarterback, you use him in that way. Use him in the running game. That was more the thing for me. Like on these read options, Max got to keep it sometimes, because I mean that takes 2 defenders out to play, right? If you're just handing the ball off to Ty Davis Price every single time on a read play, the defense is all just gonna bite on the run. You keep that thing one time, now the defense has to kind of hesitate a little bit, all right, and they have to keep account for the quarterback, all right. So that's one thing that they can do, right? Receivers got to get better, got to catch the ball, all right. So you got to come down with some of these 50-50 balls, all right. We dropped a lot of 50-50 balls last night, and that's not a knock on the receivers. That's just the facts. I mean, they dropped some balls last night, and Max has got to be better with his decision making. Whatever that turnaround throw behind the back shit was, that's not gonna cut it. All right, that can't ever happen again, and I don't think it will. The screen he threw an interception on, that's just gotta be one we eat, right? Because you're not throwing it over a 6'5" defensive tackle. You just gotta throw that thing at the tight end's feet and live to play another down type play. And then moving to the defensive side of the ball, I gotta see what the hype's about this defensive line. They got to challenge themselves to be better, and they're gonna have to carry this unit, because if not, everybody's just gonna run through us, and it's not gonna be a competitive season. We already know Stingley and Ricks can cover. They can't tackle, right? Stingley has problems tackling. Eli Ricks doesn't even attempt to really make tackles. The safeties, Jay Ward didn't stand out. Let's just say that. I don't think he had any glaring mistakes, but he didn't stand out. He's not up here making tackles at the line of scrimmage. Major Burns, Jordan Tolles had a terrible night, both of them. Major Burns' tackling was piss poor. Jordan Tolles couldn't cover a soul. When it came, they ran plays straight to his side. And defenses are scheming up with these linebackers. Damone Clark is a downhill guy, run stopper, guy who's quick, can get to the edge, cut off guys, and that's what he's good at. He's not good at pass coverage. Bug Strong was in there to kind of negate the run game, and what did they start doing when he came in the game? They started running wheel routes out the backfield, getting that halfback mashed up on him. He's terrible in coverage. The fact that we didn't see Mike Jones Jr. last night was absolutely abysmal with the way that they were using their tight ends and running backs to kind of create a mismatch. Their wide receivers are terrible. All right, UCLA's receivers are terrible. I'm pretty sure the dude caught the number 2, caught the touchdown pass. I believe he was a wide receiver, but I believe that's the only catch I can remember from a true wide receiver that wasn't to the tight end running back type play. And the linebackers and safeties really have to look and figure out what's going on, man. Durante Jones really just got to sit down. Blake Baker got to sit down with that group and just let them know how they're bringing this defense down. Like, this defense is too talented on the back end and too talented on the defensive line for 2 units on it to be this bad. It just can't happen anymore. We're going to clean some stuff up at McNeese State. We're going to get a decisive win. Hopefully get things going in the right direction. Start building momentum. Mississippi State game is going to be a key game because, man, if they drop that game, it's going to be Coach O's going to be walking out the door sooner than later. But if they can win that game, build some momentum, Auburn right now is looking like a toss-up game. They find a way to win that game, and then you just kind of start building momentum. You know, at this point, you have to go in like 2017 mode when you lost to Troy. You have to, like, backs against the wall, man. Everybody is, scratching and clawing. We have to find a way to grind the season out. It's a long season, and we can't let this one game define us. You see it all the time with good teams that drop their opener and then everything just kind of goes downhill after that. Look at Penn State. Look at LSU last year. Look at teams that have done it in the past that drop their first game and then it just spirals out of control and they just can't get a grip on it. You kind of got a blessing right here with McNeese State and Central Michigan coming up. Hopefully we can use those as tune-up games. Hopefully there's no problems there. And we can just kind of go on and do our business and correct the things we need to correct. Durante Jones is just going to get better at calling plays as the season goes on. So I'm looking forward to that. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up, man. If you guys enjoyed the video, man, make sure you like it, comment what you guys think about the game, what you guys think about the team in general moving forward. And subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not already. Follow on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that platforms. And we'll see you guys when we do our preview of McNeese State and get things going later on this week. All right, man. Thank you, guys.